welcome to a show where I've been doing this for about a little more than an hour, and I'm getting pretty tired of it, but I'm rushing through this so I can have time to edit all of this. And because the way I was sitting before, my knee is killing me, so I'm going to try and readjust. I'm going to sit like this for the rest of the video. I'm going to see if that helps. Yeah, my computer's tilted. So now we're talking about period 6, which happens from 1900 to the present times, and is all about accelerating global change and realignments. That does not help my knee. I'm moving that down. Okay, so now, key concept 1. Science and the environment. There are rapid advances in science. Did I just combine science and environment? I can't English good today, you guys. I can't. Rapid advances in science. There we go. That was easy to say. New modes of communication. New modes of communication and transportation virtually eliminated the problem of geographic distance. New scientific paradigms like the theory of relativity, quantum mechanics, the Big Bang Theory, and psychology emerged. The Green Revolution spread chemically and genetically enhanced forms of agriculture, which helped increase food supply. Medical innovations like the polio vaccine, antibiotics, and the artificial heart increased human lifespans, and energy technology like oil and nuclear power raised productivity. However, there were a lot of pollutants. These include human exploitation and competition over Earth's finite resources became more intense than ever before in human history. Global warming became a major consequence of greenhouse gases and other pollutants. Pollution threatened the world's supply of water and clean air. Deforestation and desertification were continuing effects of human impact on the environment, and extinction rates rose sharply. Diseases associated with poverty, like malaria, tuberculosis, and cholera, persisted. New epidemic threats to human survival, like the 1918 influenza outbreak, Ebola, and HIV/AIDS, came. Changing lifestyles and increased longevity led to higher incidence of certain diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. More effective forms of birth control gave women greater control over fertility and transformed sexual practices. Hey, that's a Tumblr victory for, the first time in this series? That's depressing if you think about it from a world history standpoint, but okay. Improved military technology, like tanks, airplanes, and the atom bomb, were developed. And new tactics, like trench warfare and firebombing, came about. And increased levels of wartime casualties, such as in Nanjing, Dresden, and Hiroshima. You can also include Nagasaki and basically all of World War I and II. So that was key concept 1. That was a lot shorter than all of period 5. So now we're going into key concept 2, global conflicts and their consequences. So older land-based Ottoman, Russian, and Qing empires collapsed due to various reasons, these including economic hardship, political and social discontent, technological stagnation, and military defeat. Some colonies negotiate independence, like India and the Golden Coast. Some colonies achieved independence through armed struggle, like Algeria, Vietnam, and Angola. Anti-imperialism became a pretty big thing now. Nationalism sort of helped bolster that. Mahatma Gandhi, Ho Chi Minh, and Kwame Nkrumah are examples of nationalist leaders and anti-imperialist leaders. Regional, religious, and ethnic movements like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Quebecois separatist movement, and Biafra secessionist movement cropped up. Trans-regional movements like communism, Pan-Arabianism, yes, it's that, and Pan-Africanism cropped up. These united people across national boundaries, and movements for redistribution of land also advocated communism and socialism, so basically nobody liked it, and by nobody I mean the U.S. Redrawing of old colonial states led to population resettlements, like Indian-Pakistan partition, Zionist-Jewish settlement of Palestine. I meant Palestine. Zionist Jewish settlement of Palestine, the division of Middle East into mandatory states. That all happened. Migration of former colonial subjects to imperial metropoles, which is apparently the plural of metropolis. Okay. South Asians to Britain, Algerians to France, Filipinos to the U.S. There is an uptick in ethnic violence, such as in Armenia, Cambodia, and Rwanda, and then there is also the infamous one, the Holocaust. Displacement of peoples resulting in refugee populations like Palestinians and Darfurians. That's just what the textbook listed. So, getting into a few other things. World War I and II were the first total wars. Because governments used ideologies like fascism, nationalism, communism to mobilize all of their states' resources for the purpose of waging war. Like Gurkha soldiers in India, Anzac troops in Australia, and military conscription. That all got them from colonies that existed in World War I. Political speeches, art, media helps intensify forms of nationalism. Here's some sources of the global conflict. There was imperialist expansion by Europeans in Japan, competition for resources, and ethnic conflict, along with great power rivalries between Great Britain and Germany, and nationalist ideologies, and an economic crisis endangered by the Great Depression. So shifts in power post-World War II led to the Cold War, which was basically US versus USSR, capitalism versus communism on the global stage, NATO and Warsaw Pact being formed, proxy wars fought in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, and the dissolution of the USSR effectively ending the Cold War. If you want some more information on a tiny little aspect of that, you can check out my video on the Berlin Wall. Or what I call the Berlin conflicts, because I briefly covered the Berlin airlift as well. Groups and individuals challenged many wars, like Picasso and Guernica. Did I say that? Guernica? Guernica? I think so, yes. I think I pronounced that right. Anti-nuclear movements. Okay, I'm going to say thich because it's funny to me. Quang Duc, self-immolation. I completely butchered that. I don't know how to say that. I think it's thich, but I'm not sure. Practice of nonviolence was shown by Tolstoy, Gandhi, and Martin Luther King Jr. Or as most people abbreviate that, MLK Jr. Groups and individuals opposed and promoted alternatives to existing economic, political, and social orders, like Vladimir Lenin, Mao Zedong, non-aligned movement. Is that movements? Oh, yeah, movements. Anti-apartheid movement. Global uprisings in 1968. It's just general uprisings. And then Tiananmen Square protesters that promote democracy in China. By the way, if you do visit Tiananmen Square nowadays, don't talk about that massacre that occurred there. They have the secret police hiding out there, catching people and reporting them for talking about it. So, don't talk about that in China. That's the thing. And I'm talking like modern day. This is modern day, but anyways. Militaries responded in ways that further intensified violence, like the promotion of military dictatorship in Chile, Spain, and Uganda, U.S. promotion of New World Order post-Cold War, and the build-up of military-industrial complex and arms trading. Movements used violence against civilians to achieve political aims, like the IRA, ETA, and Al-Qaeda, and influence, and just war and all this global conflict influenced popular culture a lot. There is Dada, James Bond, socialist realism, and video games. I don't know if that's perceived, if that was meant as an insult. It doesn't sound like one. It's a pretty big statement of fact. You can just look at all the modern war FPSs, and you can... Oh god, Call of Duty, why? Concept 3. New conceptualizations of global economy, society, and culture. Governments controlled national economies, like the 5-year plan, Great Leap Forward. That's more socialist stuff, and more democratic stuff, or capitalist stuff. Governments began to take more active roles in economics post-depression, like the New Deal and the fascist corporatist economy. That's Germany and Italy, I assume. And governments also took a strong role in guiding economic life to promote new development, like Nasser's promotion of economic development in Egypt, and the encouragement of export-oriented economies in East Asia. Many governments encouraged free market economic policies and promoted economic liberalization. The US with Reagan, Britain with Thatcher, China with Deng Xiaoping, and Chile with Pinochet. Oh, that actually worked really well. New international organizations like the League of Nations, UN, and the ICC, or International Criminal Court, formed to maintain peace and facilitate international cooperation. New economic institutions were formed like the IMF, World Bank, and the World Trade Organization, or WTO. Humanitarian organizations like UNICEF, Red Cross, Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, and the World Health Organization developed to respond to global humanitarian crises. Multinational corporations like the Royal Dutch Shell, Coca-Cola, and Sony began to challenge state authority and autonomy. I have other bones to pick with Sony, but I'll talk about that in a game episode later on. Protest movements like Greenpeace, Greenbelt in Kenya, and Earth Day protested inequality of environmental and economic consequences on global integration. If you're in the US, I don't know about anywhere else, but we do celebrate Earth Day. And by celebrate, I mean, yeah, we know it's a thing. Does anyone really shut off their lights or anything like that? Just saying. Notion of human rights, like the UN Declaration of Human Rights, women's rights, and the end of the White Australia policy gained traction. Just interesting to note, that's when governments on large started considering human rights, like universal human rights. God. New cultural identities formed. The only example given was negritude. I don't want to mispronounce that in case I sound racist, but I'll just put it up there so you know what I'm trying to say. I'm doing that with all the words I think I'm mispronouncing. New forms of spirituality, like New Age religions, Hare Krishna and Falun Gong, formed. Fundamentalist movements and liberation theology also came about. And finally, the last two notes on this period are sports were now played globally, like World Cup soccer or football if you're European. The Olympics came about again, and cricket. I don't know anyone in the US who plays cricket, but apparently it's a thing. And there's also the widespread diffusion of music and film. And with that, we are done reviewing for the AP exam. Just kidding, I have it literally next Thursday. I'm going to be going over all of these again. I'm literally watching my own videos. I'm going to make a playlist to make it easier for everyone involved. So yeah, that was period 6. Thank you for joining me if you did. I'd like to thank my AP World History teacher, Miss Deardor, for letting me make these videos for some extra credits. That's really nice. Thank you for that. I had fun and a bit of stress while making these, but comes with the territory. And I got to experiment with making YouTube videos, which is something I've been planning to get back into for a long time. So thank you for that. That's really helped me out. And you may join me next time where I totally roast Call of Duty for missing every opportunity to make a meaningful Band of Brothers-esque Holocaust scene when Wolfenstein: The New Order did it better.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive.